Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today we're gonna take a look at light and sound. How do those two even connect together? Well, easy explanation would be to explain how the CD works. This is probably one of the most interesting things. Not to go back enough, I'm talking about from even Nikola Tesla's time that did the wireless energy transfer or signal transfer, which we know to some point that signal and light go hand to hand. The invisible light, sometimes we call wireless signal. But in this video, I'm just gonna briefly give you a summary of what a CD is. Then I'm gonna go into some kind of nerdy stuff. Then we're gonna transport sound from this laser to this speaker only with the light of this laser, not with any magic or Bluetooth or any of that stuff. But really quick, a CD is this thing right here. Well, how does that CD work? You put it, for example, on a CD player like this one right here, and what happens? It spins really fast, reading the data. How does that laser even look like? Well, they look something like this tiny thing right there. It reads the data through that tiny laser right there, and you hear either audio or you watch video or data, whatever is stored on it. But what do you mean? This CD contains all that, and this video is probably and mostly targeted towards the younger audience here that don't exactly understand how this technology works, because unfortunately now we're tangled in TikToks and all that stuff. Just hear me out. Don't skip. Hear me out how this works. This has a lot of layers on it that you may not be aware of it. Let me just explain it here really quick visually of the layers. On the top right here that you see on top of the CD, for example, we have the label. Right? Then under it, there's another layer, but that part, if you peel this up, looks almost like aluminum foil, and that is metal. It's a metallic reflective layer that when the laser hits it from underneath, that light doesn't just go into the abyss and make no sense, right? It has to be stopped by something. Now, under this metal layer, I'm gonna put it metal here. Under this metal layer, there is what's called a crystalline phase change. That layer now is extremely important because that's where the information goes in, and would be something like that under a microscope, right? It's ups and downs, the grooves. Those grooves right here that are called sometimes spiral grooves, they are molded into the bottom piece of that CD. I'm not sure if you can see that bottom piece that looks like glass. It's actually plastic. Now that is a polycarbonate plastic that goes into here, and this is molded completely into. So it holds those, but it doesn't block the laser coming from under. In here now, on the tips of these, let me put just one of these right here. This groove that you see here with ups and downs now has what's called the non-crystalline material that represents the digital code stored on the disk. And what happens right here, on this part right here, the laser hits it. Let's say we have a beam here that we're gonna have in a minute. Now, when it hits it, it refracts that light, whether you have the player that I showed you, the Walkman or your DVD or your computer CD or any of that. And this light now bounces back to what's called the detector. Looks really easy. This is a laser. Light gets refracted here from the non-crystalline material that is the part of the data, or with the store or where the data is stored, and we have the music or whatever data you might have stored on that CD. So these are the basic layers. Now, yes, there is Blu-ray and there is all that other kind of stuff, but this is the basic principle of how a CD works. Why am I getting tangled more with a CD than going straight to what we're doing here? Because I want you to understand how light is used to transport sound and data. It's not restricted to music and pictures on your CD, but even the data itself that you might have apps and all that on a CD is transferred this exact way. Now, let me take the CD out. What are these things similar to? What else uses data? Back in the day, not too many years ago, there was such thing called infrared. This infrared here, you would, for example, unlock this very nice old phone, and you would send files to another phone that had the same infrared, put them next to each other, and the data would be sent from one to the other through light. It was still light. And the same way your TV remote or whatever remote that has an infrared blaster works. You press a button. When you press that button, for example, there are pulses. So upon pressing this button, you saw a light there. This is not the infrared, by the way. This is the indicator for the human to see the light. There's a code stored in the chip inside that goes through the processes, almost like a Morse code. So the TV, in reality, is not reading a code of numbers 2, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's reading more like in a dots form that's being put from the remote controller towards the TV. And the TV knows, because it has a transcoder inside, or the receiver inside, or whatever you want to call it, detector, that can read that kind of data. And now, yes, when you click it, for example, cameras, if there wasn't this much light here, the camera would be able to see that infrared light. But unfortunately, I'm not going to turn off all the lights to show you, but yes, it would be blinking. Now, let me get rid of all this stuff and start building this light thing right here, which is the same principle of fiber optics or the optical audio cables that usually come with a lot of devices, or you can buy it. There's light that goes in here, comes out of here. Let me shine a laser on it. Well, let me turn it on. Yes, it's one of those lasers that you have to flip the key on. Let me shine the light on this part of the thing. Let me show you that the laser actually works. Okay, I shine it on that side, and look what happens on this side. The laser light is being transported by this cable, which is nothing more than a fiber right here. Okay, now we understand that concept too. Let's start building this thing here. And as a detector, what better could do it than a small, tiny solar light? Because it takes light, converts it into energy. What do we need to do? Is to take this energy here that we have, or these pulses of energy or light, to be transported to the detector into energy again. So let's just start this. This should be easy, should not be intimidating. By the way, you can follow this video. It should be extremely easy to actually replicate at your home. It's not really risky at all, except for the lasers themselves. Yes, don't play with lasers as if they're toys, because they are actually not toys. Okay, so this will be our detector. Now we have to set up the laser. Now here will be a little bit, probably the more complex part of it. We take these paperwork out of here. The more complex part here is to make this switch. As you see right here, all we are doing in this experiment, we are putting something to play a song or audio, whatever data you decide, to make this switch pulsate to the digital tones of the song, or the switching of the song that might go sometimes thousands of times per second. So it will do exactly this, but way faster. This thing here will understand that energy pulse, and we'll transport it to our mixer slash amplifier that will convert it into a sound that's audible to us humans on the speaker. Enough talking, let's start building. First of all, we need to make this switch without destroying this laser, because I really do not want to destroy it. And how this thing here works, for example, we know this is the positive side, and this side should be positive, is if this positive goes inside here, it has to come back somewhere to close the circuit. So now this becomes positive. It's almost the opposite of the other lasers that you might have seen, that, or flashlights, that usually the body remains negative. On this one, the body is positive. So we will make that switch, but instead of using the whole thing, we don't really need, because now instead of this part, we have our switch. And we will just go ahead and start connecting cables. The battery goes in just like this one, right there. And before I do anything else, for example, I would like to close it. But in order to hold this, because there's a spring inside right there, I'll have to probably put a piece of tape. But first, let me make this connection here. That will be our closing, because we need to close this circuit somehow. And on the top will be our other lead, because now this is becoming our switch. So that makes a lot of sense, I hope, to a lot of you. So now this connection that was made by the base here with a key and all that, we're bypassing all of that. We're going the simple route, and on top I will have to put one of these to somehow make it stick, because it's one of those batteries. And let's see if the gator teeth will stay there. Okay, so all we did here is just kind of make this, instead of the connection in one place, we're kind of taking the positive and breaking the positive, which in paper, for example, would be better explained as this here. What we're doing, that's the, let's say, the laser right here. And the laser comes out like this. There's our switch right here that has on the side. And this is the positive lead. And this is the negative lead. We're going to take this positive here and split it in two. So we're taking one side to connect to one side of this RCA, let's say to the positive side of this RCA, and the other side to the negative side of the RCA. So now, since these are right here, every time there's a pulse from a phone or from a Walkman that I'm going to do here, you will have music, because every time it pulses, the chip inside closes this circuit right here. So now you get beams of light pulsating. But next thing to do would be for me to put probably this laser on some kind of stand. I would probably go with this one here and this one right here. Okay, so here's our laser, and it will beam from here to there. Here's our switch on the laser. And now next is to connect the RCA cable, which is going to be this one right here that will go inside this Sony Walkman. But first, let's make that connection. One lead will be connected to the positive, as you see right here, and the other lead will be connected to the negative side, which is the outer side of the RCA cables. Just like that. It's not going anywhere. So now we are almost ready to rock, but there's one more thing. I'm going to connect the other side now from the detector to transport that sound to our amplifier and the speaker. So here we have to make a connection too. And we put the leads, if you remember in the beginning, on the detector or the solar light here. And one lead is going to go on the negative, and the other lead will go on the positive, which will be the tip of it. And now this is connected to, let me take this piece of wire out of your sight so you guys don't get confused on what we're doing. Okay, and now let's plug this one in right here. For some reason this Walkman is not working, and I don't know what's up with that, but we'll switch to my phone and we'll make it really easy. So just to make sure that nothing fun is going on here, as you see, the Bluetooth is off and nothing else is going on it. So let's just go and play some song. Let me plug it in here. Okay, go to my own song, put the volume up and see this music. As you see, whenever I put my hand on the middle, I disrupt the light and I stop it from playing. But let me find something to hold this button on the whole time, so you guys have a better chance of actually seeing me interact with this light in a better way if I can make this happen. And really quick, I'm gonna film this portion with this phone, so you guys can see what I'm actually talking about here really quick. And as you see right now, I'm stopping the laser with my hand, but let me take my hand off. The laser is simply hitting right there, as you see. But what I told you about waves, for example, waves interact with all around us, just like this laser is interacting with this piece of solar panel. Now the phone, for example, doesn't do anything, right? Let me shine the laser there and put the phone closer to the laser. As you see, it actually disrupts the laser. Now let me put this phone on the side while recording and show you guys something else. And just like that, you can pause your music in a very easy way. As you see here, my hand becomes the pause button. Let me pause the music here, for example, and let's hear the effect like that. And as you see, it's working just like I said. For example, you wanna block the light? Let's look at a fun effect here. Not sure if you can hear this. Boom. And all the sound is coming just from the speaker that you can interrupt with your bare hand. And actually the clarity of the sound is not that bad, I would say. It's not that bad. Now, if you have a better laser than this one here, for example, you'd be able to do much more than what I'm doing here. You would be able to make sound way better. But in my opinion, this is not bad. And now, just to demonstrate that it works just like your optical cable, I'm going to put the optical cable on this side and put the other end of the light on this optical cable to the solar panel and see what happens. Now let me put the laser back in and make the music. Boom. But yeah. Now let me blast some smoke through here at the laser, and you'll see visually the laser itself, for example. And as you see, right now my hand is becoming the switch. And I hope you saw that, the smoke crossing the laser, so it would be easier for you to see it visually that way. This tiny piece of solar panel was just harvested from one of those garden solar panels from dollar store. It was like $1.25 before taxes, obviously. Let me take this out. So I will show it here just by hand. We take it out of the holder here, so you guys can see it even better. And yes, with the light on, as you see, if I put my hand on, it stops. If I take my hand off and let the light go through it, you'll hear the noise. Now let me turn off the light and shine the laser just by hand. Okay, and let me shine the laser directly here. as you see, that's working really good. And yes, this was the experiment we had for today, and I just hope you enjoyed this video. And you can go ahead, make one for yourself. And yes, if you're a spy, you know what you can do with this stuff here. That you can set up something connected to your phone or to any recorder, or you can put a microphone, a tiny microphone instead of this one here, and connect this to a pair of headphones. I might actually make a video on that. And shine the laser and communicate like that without having to have any radio or anything else in between. And now we are done with this video experiment. I hope you learned something. I hope you're gonna give me a like and subscribe, share it with whoever you want and whoever you like, and we will see you next time. Bye!